Hello, today I will be looking at another SAF fuel ration pack. This is 1 man times 24 hours main pack, menu 2 vegetarian halal, comprising of 2 entrees and 1 dessert. Vegetarian dumpling, mushroom and groundnut, vegetarian char siu rice, and finally for dessert, barley nata de coco dessert. As usual, each main pack contains your 2 entrees, your dessert, and finally your instruction/information leaflet. According to the eBay listing I purchased this from, each pack contains approximately 3,350 kilocalories, enough for a day's work. And I am back with vegetarian char siu rice, heated and out of the retort pouch. Joining me are my trusty companions, Mr. Salt, Mr. Pepper, and finally Mr. Tabasco. So, a few recurring themes that I realize about this SAF combat rations, even though I've only managed to taste test 2 of them thus far. There's this same smell of, or rather odor of processed canned food. There's also a hint of roasted groundnuts, or that could be another component of the processed canned food. I'm not entirely sure, but there's that. And the rice always comes out glutinous and slightly soggy. Finally, it also appears flaky. The color looks exactly the same as the last time fried rice with, I think it was spicy chicken fried rice, if I can remember correctly. Except instead of spicy chicken bits, we have here what's supposed to be vegetarian char siu, but it looks more like carrots and bits of corn here. Now, normally when you, or rather when I go out to the coffee shops in search of vegetarian char siu, one would expect something that resembles, well, char siu, roasted pork, made of flour. And unfortunately, this does not seem to be the case. Well, let's have a go. Right off the bat, because this is inherently sweeter than savory, there's a taste of carrots. There's also a stronger taste of processed food than the more savory meals I tried the last time. So we can gather, or rather we can infer that probably the savoriness, the saltiness of the food does mask the processed canned food taste and smell. The taste is not very, it's not as nice as the last meals I tried, unfortunately. But on the other hand, I highly doubt that adding our trusted compatriots here would help much in any way. Let me just take a bit off here without the char siu. Yeah, the base rice tastes exactly the same as the last spicy chicken fried rice, minus the spiciness. I might be wrong, but this could be the vegetarian char siu that they're referring to in the package, and not the carrot bits. Normally char siu is red, it's orangey red like this, and vegetarian char siu is even more rich in its orangey redness. But let me just try this out. What I just tasted could be the closest thing to vegetarian char siu in this entire pack. And that could actually be the vegetarian char siu that they're referring to. It resembles something flurry, like vegetarian char siu, but there's no taste at all. Let's have another spoonful with the vegetarian char siu here. There's no taste. It's just flour. A close-up of the rice, by the way. There we go. that gluttonous thing. Thus far, between this and the entrees I tried in the other ration pack previously, the other one was better. Even though by a bit, still better. This time, it is unlikely that seasoning or even a hard-boiled egg would help much, if any. Unfortunately, the taste gets marginally worse with every bite. And that wraps up the first entree, vegetarian char siu rice. Hopefully, the next entree will be better than this. Moving on to the next dish, vegetarian dumpling, mushroom and groundnut. Now, this is a bit of a plot twist. When I looked at the menu, I was expecting something like wonton dumplings. And even the packaging felt like wonton dumplings. But the moment the item slipped out of the retort pouch, I realized they were referring to glutinous rice dumplings. Yes, yet another rice dish. The recurring theme is still here. There's the processed canned food smell, and the texture of the rice feels exactly the same as fried rice and the previous dish, vegetarian char siu rice. So I'm hoping that this would defy what has happened in the past few instances and basically taste better. Wish me luck. And surprise, it tastes exactly the same. That's kind of surprising, isn't it? Well, not really. Salinity is very similar to the past few dishes, except minus the spice from the spicy fried rice. There's no carrots this time. What a relief. Well, I would dare say that the substitution from carrots to mushrooms actually seems to work for this recipe of, well, rice, putting it very loosely. It's more edible, it's more palatable than the rice scattered with carrots the past few times. I can't find any groundnuts though. By groundnuts, I was kind of expecting something like cashew nuts, roasted and then added in here. They will add a great texture. Oh wait, I see some nuts now. Let me have a spoonful of this. Yep, steam and added into the dish. I'll presume the dish, or rather the retort pouch was pasteurized, so most of the texture of the nuts is also gone. It's savory enough to be eaten on its own, or it may taste better with fried eggs or hard-boiled eggs. But then again, as I said, if you're eating this, you may not have the luxury of having eggs or hens with you. I would say that this is quite close to Chinese-style fried glutinous rice that is commonly sold as dim sum. It's missing fried onions though. I don't have any with me at the moment, but I would imagine a stronger smell of fried onions, or rather fried shallots, would help in this regard. Now, I cannot begin to fathom why they would call this vegetarian dumpling, bracket, mushroom and groundnut. I think a more accurate name for this dish would be glutinous rice or something like that. At least in a Singaporean context, or even in an international context, it's going to be more accurate for this dish. Or rather, more people are going to know what's inside this dish before trying it out. Between this and the vegetarian char siu rice, I would say that this is better. It's more edible, does not taste as off-putting as the other dish, even though the texture is the same. This dish is actually quite close resembling to the ones sold in coffee shops or in dim sum stores. in terms of taste. And as always, close up of the texture of the rice. As you can see, it's quite similar to the previous few rice pouches that I've taste tested. One moment while I finish this meal, and I'll be back with dessert. And finally, our barley nata de coco dessert. I am going to eat this at room temperature because generally these kinds of desserts may be better tasting cold. It looks saturated with starch, very starchy, very goopy. Let's give it a go. Just like the dessert I tried in the last menu, the sweetness of the dessert accentuates the chemical taste, the processed food taste that these retop pouches have. Most of it might boil off when it's hot, but so far I'm not getting any of that in this dessert or the last dessert I tried. Barley tastes a bit sour, a bit off. Nata de coco tastes unflavored. It's like as if during the process, all the flavor of the cubes, the nata de coco cubes, have been lost to the rest of the dessert. That's not exactly appealing. Just a little close-up of what you expect when you actually consume this dessert. As I said, goopy, starchy. At least the consolation is the barley pits, they are not disintegrated. Unlike the red beans the last time, at least they are still whole. The usual nata de coco one would expect would have a sweet, chewy taste. This one is not as chewy as you would expect. The cubes are edible. The barley, I would not feel like eating all of it. There is a slightly musky aftertaste to this barley. And once again, it's very thirst-provoking. You will need a lot of water by your side if you're going to eat this. And there you have it. That last scoop wraps up today's review, food or taste test. Today's taste test. Few rations, 1 man times 24 hours. Halal, menu 2, vegetarian. With the entrees, vegetarian dumpling, mushroom and groundnut, vegetarian char siu rice, and finally this dessert, barley nata de coco dessert. If you liked this video, please do like, share and subscribe. And support me on Patreon. Links are all in the description. Goodbye for now.